Hello and welcome to Video Game Hangover. I'm Randy Dickinson and I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Hey, I'm DJ Ross. I'm in Mountain View, California.
Each week on Video Game Hangover, we talk about the games that have been keeping us up at night. This week, we're talking about Embracelet, and the captain is dead.
Who's dead? Who? What now?
The captain. She is dead.
The captain.
The captain. No, I don't know. Not good at accents, not good at funny voices.
No, they always sound so good in my head, and then not so much.
So I watch old clips of, Jim Carrey or, who other good impersonators are on, the Johnny Carson show or something like that from the 80s on YouTube. And I'm just in awe of people who are good at voices. And I'm not. I have this one voice. And, I don't know. I find it annoying in my head. I'm not sure how you guys feel about it.
No comment. No, I mean, well, if you're interested in doing that, maybe that's something you could work on. Just do a whole show as Arnold Schwarzenegger or somebody.
I thought you were suggesting I just practice it, just 10 to 12 hours a day, just really kind of buckle down.
I mean, I'm not saying don't do that. I like to think of myself as an enabler, so please start practicing accents 12 to whatever.
Far be it for you to stand in the way of my dreams, right?
Right.
Excellent.
Just think of all the crazy voiceover work.
Yeah, I would do that. I would love to do that.
Okay, well, go do it. Why are we sitting here recording the show then?
If someone has written a book and would like me to narrate the book, what do they call that? Books on tape? I don't know, there's no tapes anymore. Ebook. If somebody would like me, no, that's a different thing.
Audiobook,
that's the word I'm looking for. Yeah. See if
Audible.com
was our sponsor, I would remember that. But we're about 1 million listeners shy of their criteria, but
Right. Well, something to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's where we should put our energies, 10 to 12 hours a day, just working on getting
Audible.com
to sponsor the show. Just sending emails to
Audible.com
going, how about now?
Yeah. It's like, please, I don't know how I got this number, but please stop.
Right. What else? We should also mention Nintendo did a thing. They did a thing. They haven't done in a very long time.
What was the thing?
They did a Nintendo Direct.
Yeah. That was it.
The Twitter account that I follow that tracks how many days it's been since the last Nintendo Direct now says 4 days since the last Direct. And for a long time, it was 510 days.
I did not realize that it had been that long. So first of all, I guess I just have my Nintendo Direct classifications mixed up because I could have sworn they keep doing these things every few months, right? But those were mini directs or indie showcases or whatever. So This was the first proper Nintendo Direct in over a year, it turned out.
Yeah, September 2019 was the last one.
Yeah, I was when I heard that, I was like, that's not true. I just saw those guys.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, they do the minis and they do the third-party publisher showcase and stuff like that, but they have not done a proper Direct in quite a while.
Right.
Yep. And they did, and it was nearly an hour long, and it was a ton of stuff, and it was exciting. I think I've said this on the show. I probably said this in the show in September 2019.
Yeah.
But I like the Direct format. I think everybody should have a Direct. I know Sony has sort of toyed with versions of it, and I think Microsoft did a thing once or twice that was sort of similar in tone and structure. But I'm all about transparency in the video game industry, and I think a lot of sort of the toxicity and entitlement that happens in the video game culture comes from people feeling sort of entitled to information and updates about games, and feeling entitled about sequels and things like that. And I don't know. I think the best way to sort of stay ahead of some of that stuff is to be as transparent as you can, and kind of break down some of that thirst to that desire for knowledge about your favorite video games.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
you gotta, I don't know. Can't leave people hanging for too long. So
yes.
The death threats start rolling in.
Exactly.
What I noticed about this while I was watching this, first of all, it was just refreshing, I guess, to see a proper Nintendo Direct, because I had kind of forgotten what they were like. as I was saying. But just watching this, I kind of like the just the weird Nintendo house style that they use for all these trailers, because they're so different from what you would see at like in a big E3 press conference, where they just show like a big dramatic, kind of like maybe cinematic and mysterious trailer for a game.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of like maybe pre-rendered footage. Maybe you don't actually see a lot of the game. It's just supposed to be this tease, I suppose. But in a Nintendo Direct, you get like there's somebody just talking over the game the entire time, which, you know, is not especially dramatic, but I find it very refreshing that they're just like, in this game, it's a platform game. You're going to be going to all these different stages and doing these things with this character. I'm just like, oh, thank you for just telling me what this game is about.
Yes, yeah, I agree with that. And I was thinking of something similar to that as I was watching this Nintendo Direct, going that if this was like a Sony press conference, it would be a 20-minute long sizzle reel with like dubstep playing over it, and, you know, 1,000 little clips of video games kind of interspersed, and me going, oh, that's cool, what game was that? And then it's gone, it's over, you've already missed it, you didn't write down what it was called, you're screwed forever. But yeah, Nintendo, by nature, I think, sort of moves at a different pace, and it is a little refreshing to sort of get these little deep dives and these little sort of narrated experiences to sort of tease you for an upcoming game.
Yeah. What especially caught my attention was the trailer for The Outer Wilds, which, depending on who you ask, I guess was kind of spoilery, like, for the premise of that game. I thought that was interesting to hear, because I already knew everything that they were saying about the game. I don't know, just because of the time you talked about it on here, or just hearing other people describe the basic premise of The Outer Wilds. But yeah, they pretty much just had that narrator, the same guy, just saying, you know, in The Outer Wilds, so such and such things happen, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, this sounds like a cool game. I'd want to play this one. But if you can just imagine a similar trailer, not to take away from, you know, whatever their vision is at, I don't remember which studio created The Outer Wilds, for maybe a more cinematic trailer. I don't think it would have somebody just outlining the setup of the game over it. But I found it very refreshing to just have somebody lay it all out there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that game has a lot of other sort of really good mysteries built into it, so I guess it wasn't sort of as surprising to me to hear the narrator kind of spell out the main gist of the thing, but yeah, I could see that. Yeah, it's I don't know. Like we said, Nintendo definitely operates at a different sort of wavelength.
Yeah. But anyway, it was very nice to have that back. Looking forward to some of those things.
Yeah. No Breath of the Wild 2. That was probably the big disappointment. I think everybody is hungry for more info on that.
I mean, yeah, I know everybody wants to know about it, but
yeah.
God,
it's the 35th anniversary of Zelda this year as well, and I think there's probably some sort of built-in expectation with that.
Did you have a big party this weekend? Did you have a big, like, Triforce-shaped cake or something?
I did not. No, was this past weekend like the actual anniversary?
I think it was on Sunday. I don't know how everybody just knew this. But I like got up and looked on social media, and they're like, "Oh, today Zelda's 35th anniversary." I'm like, "Oh wow, you guys were really on top of this."
I would have sent you a card, DJ. I'm sorry.
All right, they were fresh out of like Zelda anniversary cards at the store.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, but we're getting Skyward Sword.
Yeah.
On the Switch.
Boy, there's nothing like announcing a Skyward Sword remaster to just remind you how much the Zelda community hates Skyward Sword.
It's one of the few Zelda games I've not played yet, so I'm curious. But yeah, I think I have relatively low expectations. Now, if they were rolling out, literally any other Zelda game, I'd probably be more excited. But yeah, it is a blind spot in my Zelda history, sort of my modern Zelda history anyway. So
yeah,
I'll give it a whirl.
I am looking forward to this. I think I'll play it. I made an attempt back whenever it came out, and it was just so long. It was so long. I don't remember having as much of an issue with like the weird motion controls everybody complains about. The thing that was was doing it for me, or was not doing it, perhaps, was that that was still in the phase, the era of Zelda games where you would like pick up an item and it would stop the entire game and just be, oh, you found 20 rupees. That's more than 10 rupees. You can take this to a shop and just blah, blah, blah. Like every single time you pick up an item, it just has to remind you what the item's purpose in the world is. Which I felt like they really did a good job of cutting that down in Breath of the Wild. Just kind of hand-holding and over-explaining everything.
Oh, yeah. I would agree with that.
So it's like, I don't know how much more of this I can take in Skyward Sword. I hope they maybe go and tweak something like that. I'm not super optimistic that they will, but I don't know. My point is that I didn't play the entire thing when it came out, so I would definitely like to give it another shot because I felt like I was enjoying it for the most part, but just mentally bracing myself for the remnants of the pre-Breath of the Wild Zelda games.
Yeah, it's got I don't know. I've gone back. Well, I played the Link's Awakening, sort of the new version of Link's Awakening, and it was tough to go back to kind of that old style, or games made in that old style of Zelda, after spending so much time with Breath of the Wild. But that's fine. It's part of the charm, I think, of the Zelda canon. So I'll give that a whirl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, good. Well,
Wind Waker, man,
I've
played Wind Waker, I think 3 times already. And that's a very long game, but if they had rolled out a Switch version of Wind Waker, I'd probably play it one more time.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I never played the the Wii U remake or whatever, the very shiny looking one.
Yes, yeah.
So, yeah, I'd be down for that as well.
Yeah. That's what got me to buy a Wii U.
That was it, the remake?
Yeah, the remake. They did the bundle. They did a Wii U bundle that came with Wind Waker, and the tablet, the Wii U tablet, had the Triforce on it and a bunch of little like etchings and stuff evoked from the game. So yeah, that was what got me to drop the money on a new Wii U back in the day.
Well, they've got to have something in store. They did the whole Mario thing last year.
Yeah.
So what's it going to be? It's going to be Wind Waker, maybe Ocarina of Time. That's not on the Switch yet, is it?
I don't believe so, no. I think the last time we saw Ocarina was on the 3DS.
Yeah, that's right.
It was a very good version. But yeah, it'd be nice to have that on a big screen.
Yeah. Yeah, it would.
But yeah. What's the other one? The Twilight Princess. That seems like it would be an easy port to get it off the Wii U and onto the Switch.
That was also on the Wii U.
Yep.
Okay, so there's 3 right there.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll just do an incredibly bare bones N64 port with Ocarina of Time like they did with Super Mario 64 and just be done with it.
Yeah. Man, what a killer that would be, though. Just they did a 3-game bundle like that Mario 3D package.
Yeah.
With 3 Zelda games. That would be a lot of game right there.
That'd be pretty good. I mean, yeah, I was just thinking like Zelda games feel much more substantial than Mario games. I don't know how true that actually is, but I'm just like 3 Zelda games in one. That's heavy. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else in that tickle your fancy? Anything else from the Direct that piqued your interest?
They just announced another Squaresoft PlayStation 1 RPG is getting remastered. It's Legend of Mana coming out on, I think, the Switch and maybe some other platforms. I mean, obviously they were only talking about the Switch version during the Direct. But that's exciting because I never really felt like I could have spent more time with that game. Man, there were just so many RPGs coming out during those years on the PS1 that suddenly I just didn't have time to play all of them. So 25 years later.
The good news is they're back. Yeah.
Now is the time. What else was in there? I didn't take notes on this whole thing. I'm super curious about the little Capcom arcade thing that they put out on the same day. I already spent a little time with it.
Yeah, that's out, right? Yeah.
I'll probably talk about it on a future show once there are more games out for it, but that was a nice surprise.
I'm intrigued by, and maybe you know more about this than I do, the Famicom Detective Club.
Yeah. Yeah, that was maybe the biggest surprise. I mean, kind of out of left field.
I guess these are, and I learned this in our Discord after sort of questioning it, that these are pretty old Nintendo games that were never really kind of properly localized in English.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that they're coming out to the Switch in English in 2021 is surprising. And yeah, they look like kind of, murder mystery adventure games, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was asking around on social media because I knew nothing about these. I was just like, how excited should I be for these? They are getting remastered. And the response from people who are probably much more familiar with this type of game than I am is that, they're all right.
Oh, really? Okay.
They're maybe like more historically significant than they are like really fun to play because they were some of the earliest sort of examples of this type of game.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. For the way they described it, made it sound like you shouldn't be like bending over backwards to play these.
Yeah. All right.
Or maybe you should. Like maybe they'll do something really amazing with the remastering. And it's cool that these are suddenly available or suddenly will be available in English when they come out.
Some developer has been working on localizing this really old game that I would otherwise have no hope of ever playing. So
yeah. I think they were just trying to set everybody's expectations. Just be like, don't expect them to like completely blow you away. But yeah, I'm very curious. I'm looking forward to seeing how well those are received.
Yeah. And the other one that sort of was super exciting to me was the new announcement of Mario Golf.
Yeah.
God, I love a Mario sports game. I got to tell you.
Didn't they just make a Mario Golf, or was Mario Tennis?
Mario Tennis came out, I think, 2 summers ago on the Switch.
Yeah, seems like he only plays golf and tennis these days.
Yeah, we're not getting... What's the Mario basketball one? Whatever that was.
Oh, yeah. That was the soccer one. Actually, I wasn't a huge fan of the soccer one, so maybe this is for the better.
Yeah. Tennis and golf. That's pretty good. It's not a bad wheelhouse.
Yeah, I like the 3DS tennis game. Oh, but no, this isn't tennis. This is golf. I don't know how I ever played a Mario golf game.
The 3DS golf is great. I put a lot of hours into that, as well as the tennis one, both of those. So I'm excited about the transition to the Switch.
Yeah, this is not like a port. It's a brand new thing.
Brand new game, yeah. I don't remember what the subtitle is. It's Mario Golf : something.
New Mario Golf.
Super Smash, maybe?
Super Smash Mario Golf?
Super Smash Brothers? No, that's a different thing. I don't know what the subtitle is. I could Google it, but I don't care that much.
Maybe it's just Mario Golf. Who knows?
Maybe. It is now.
It is? Okay, good. Glad we settled that.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That comes out early summer, and I'll give it a whirl. I'll play that. Let's play some golf.
Sounds good.
Yeah. It looks like there is a, I don't know if it's like a battle royale mode essentially, but like everybody golfs simultaneously.
Oh, I heard people talking about that. It's like speed golf or something.
Speed golf, yeah, or something. As you could have run across the fairway to where your ball lies to sort of take your next shot, you can use power-ups to kind of slow down your fellow players. And I'm like, that's fun. I would play the heck out of that, I think. So yeah, I'm intrigued by the new Mario Golf thing. I'll give that a shot.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people saying stuff about like there being a story mode in this. Not sure how sincere that was, but apparently it was like a feature in one of the older installments.
The 3DS version had a campaign essentially that would, sort of function as a tutorial, but was also a pretty extensive single player way of sort of consuming the game.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I was just,
the subtitle
it kind of caught me off guard. People were just like, oh man, finally story mode is back in Mario Golf. And I was like, was this something? Like, should I have known about this? I guess I should have.
Yeah. People like a good story mode, apparently.
Yeah. That's what was missing from golf all these years. Just
the new one is Mario Golf Super Rush.
Well, okay. I guess that is referring to the speed golf function.
Maybe.
Super Rush would not have been my first pick for a golf game subtitle, but whatever they want.
It doesn't sound very golfy.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so that's fun. I'm looking forward to that.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, well, cool. More of this, please. Every now and then, Nintendo, maybe, 4 times a year. Every now and then, let's roll one of these out. Teach Sony and, Microsoft how to do them as well.
It kind of reminded me that they just never did anything for E3, really, right? Last year?
I think they did a bunch of Treehouse stuff. There was a lot of gameplay sessions, but there certainly was not a press conference or a presentation, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it just felt like we never got anything of the usual kind of Nintendo magnitude. I mean, everybody's schedule was thrown off because of the pandemic and everything. But thinking back on it, I was just like, they never actually did anything. I couldn't remember. But this felt closer to that than we had gotten in a long time. Yeah,
very much so. And this year has been a bit of a blank slate for Nintendo. There was really, beyond Persona Strikers, right? I don't think there was anything that I could think of that was sort of scheduled to be a Nintendo release for the rest of the year. So at least there's a few more games on the radar at this point.
Yeah. So that was nice. Oh, okay. So I remember one thing. This is the last thing for me.
Okay.
Project Triangle Strategy.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. For some context, it's like a tactical RPG from the creators of Octopath Traveler.
Right.
My question is, what do you think the odds are that they're like, it's a working title, we're going to come up with something? What do you think the odds are that the game is just going to say Triangle Strategy on the box?
I don't know. Well, I mean, they went through a similar cycle with Octopath Traveler.
They did, and everybody was like, "Don't worry." They said the same thing. They ended up with Octopath Traveler, but if you remember, the working title was just Project Octopath Traveler.
Right.
So really, very little effort went into just refining that into a real title.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird that it would put sort of strategy in the title. I mean, Octopath.
Yeah.
I mean, Octopath Traveler was not called Octopath RPG,
Yeah, that at least sounds like something. It's a little awkward, but man, it's kind of depressing. Just like, yep, with our new strategy game, it's got like triangles in it or something. I actually don't know why that's in the title.
Yeah, kind of awkward title-wise, but yeah. I mean, interesting approach in that they put out a demo for... This is a 2022 game, but put out a demo for it immediately for people to kind of play around with.
So they got a while to make up their minds to just drop the project from their working title.
Yeah.
Call it Triangle Strategy.
But they're kind of crowdsourcing feedback on this thing. Their intent is to have a bunch of people play it for free in the eShop and then send a survey to everyone who played it so they can kind of tweak the path of the game as it develops over the rest of the year. So that's kind of cool and pretty unique. It's almost like a what's the preview experience you get on like Steam or Xbox?
Like early access?
Early access, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that either. I don't know if gamers are the ones to be making decisions about stuff.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of sort of video games made by committee, but I don't know. It's that transparency thing that's like, hey, we're making this cool game. What do you think? Yeah. There's still a little time for us to kind of tweak it between now and when it comes out.
It just makes me think. So I don't know how much you're following Unsung Story from Kickstarter, which was another tactical RPG. The creator of Final Fantasy Tactics was involved to some degree, and then just ran into just complete disaster after disaster, as Kickstarter projects are wont to do.
Oh, no.
And at some point, I remember there was like some high-profile comment from one of the backers who was just like, yeah, I know you're having trouble developing the game, but if you guys just like take the gameplay from Final Fantasy Tactics and like change the characters or something, like just the graphics, I'll be happy. And I was like, this is exactly why crowdsourced development is a bad idea, because you get people like this saying, don't actually give me anything new. I just want to play that other game. And that's it.
Yes. Yep.
Anyway, that's an extreme example, but that's what makes me nervous whenever people are just like, oh yeah, we're going to be taking suggestions from the community on this. Just like, hope they actually have somebody steering the ship back at the, the company.
Yeah, and sort of filtering through the direct.
Yeah. I mean, I know they wouldn't actually just reskin Final Fantasy Tactics and try and re-release it that way. But like, if that is indicative of the type of feedback coming in, I'm just not sure how much value is in there.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of that expectation that sort of exists in gaming. I feel like that is the thing that happens anytime there's a new Zelda game announced or Paper Mario, I think, sort of has been victim to that for quite a while, where it's sort of like, no, just make it like the old one.
Yeah.
And I think the developer's like, that game already exists. You can go play that game. We don't need to make it over and over again. So yeah, I don't. I like sequels to games I like, and there is something sort of warm and cozy and familiar about an experience like that. But I don't need to play the same game over and over and over again. I seldom go back to games to play again. Show me something new.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, I want you to send your feedback in to these guys. Just be like,
all right,
give me something new. That's all.
I'll get on that. Yeah.
Okay, good.
I'll give them $1 and some feedback.
Keep the change.
What else? We should talk about current games. What are we playing lately? And we have a rare occurrence here of you and I having synced up on 2 video games.
Oh, we did. Which one do you want to talk about first?
Let's talk about The Captain is Dead first, I guess.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
The Captain's dead.
The Captain's dead. This is okay. Here's my sort of take on this. This is Star Trek, the video game.
It is more or less. Yeah, I think the App Store description is something along the lines of, it's the last 10 minutes of your favorite sci-fi show or something like that, where everything on the ship that can go wrong is going wrong. Like, you're being attacked by aliens and all the computers are exploding and,
yeah,
that kind of show.
The jump drive is down and shields are failing, and so it is. I think that's an interesting sort of way of looking at it. It is sort of the panicky final 10 minutes of kind of every episode probably of Star Trek.
Yes, that's exactly how every episode of Star Trek ends.
You'll have to sort of weigh in on that, obviously, DJ, but.
That's actually how every episode of Star Trek Discovery ends. The previous series, not so much.
No. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting sort of approach in that you have kind of an overview, a 3/4 view of a starship, and a series of alerts will go off and some horrible things will happen, and you'll pick a handful of different ship employees with different jobs, like an engineer, a soldier, an android, etc. Cyborg, I think is what they call them in the game. And right. You will issue them commands to try to get your ship repaired, to fix your shields, to repair the comms, to what's the other thing that goes wrong? The teleporter. You need the teleporter.
Oh, there's so much
zip
that can
around
go
your
wrong.
ship.
How can you even
there's a ton of things. And more often, and most importantly, you do need to continue to have people trying to fix the jump drive, because once you fix the jump drive, you can just leave. You can just get the hell out of there and win the thing.
Yeah, that's it. That's how you win the game, right?
Yes, and the tutorial in the beginning of the game makes it very clear that if you get more than 12 aliens on your ship, you die. If the shields go down, you die. And it's this sort of laundry list of things that will happen and can happen, and if any of those things do happen, failure is assured. And the one way to live is to replace that jump drive and get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
So kind of fun in theory. It seemed like a cool concept to me. I don't know. I don't think I've played a lot of games like this where you're sort of managing, I don't know, a starship. You're managing a bunch of sort of metrics and measurements and stuff like that, and sort of issuing commands to move, troops around a ship to kind of fix things. It felt a little bit like, to me, one of the XCOM games. You had to sort of manage the HQ. You had the part of the game where you go out and you have soldiers who fight with aliens and stuff like that, and it was a turn-based strategy game. But the rest of the game was you having sort of this cross-section view of essentially the Men in Black headquarters, and you had to like build new rooms and make sure the nuclear reactor didn't go into meltdown and train new recruits and things like that there. And it was a lot of moving parts. It was a lot of like, you had a budget and you had to channel funds into different areas, and you could add on 2 new training facilities, but only if you made enough money off of X, Y, and Z. And it was cool. It was pretty intense. And I remember sort of liking that much more than the kind of the turn-based strategy part of that game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I wonder if there's probably a base building simulator out there with your name on it.
Is that where this falls into kind of base building?
This I wouldn't say
Fallout Shelter was a similar approach.
Yeah, I was
right?
going to say Fallout Shelter. I wasn't sure how big of a Fallout fan you were. I wouldn't say that The Captain is Dead is base building. I think an easy comparison would be FTL. In that game, you're also managing a starship. In fact, maybe that's a better comparison than the last 10 minutes of a Star Trek episode. It's kind of like the last 10 minutes of an FTL game, because in that game, everything inevitably is just on fire, and there's an enemy ship shooting at you. It's the real just disaster scenario that every game of this opens on. But I think, other than the fact that you are managing a starship and your crew and a bunch of different systems, in both of those games, they're fairly different. Like, this one feels much more, or like, you should be much more methodical in this compared to FTL. I mean, they'll probably also help you out a lot in FTL, but in this one, especially since each of their characters or your crewmates on the ship has their own turn, and they have to, like, go accomplish their tasks before the next person can move, you really have to, like, plan out ahead of, like, what sort of repairs you want each crew member to make, and, like, what skills, which of their innate skills are going to allow them to do specific tasks on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in FTL is slightly more, like, every crew member was more multi-purpose, and you command all of them simultaneously. So I will stop making comparisons to FTL at this point. But yeah, that was sort of my mindset starting out playing this, though.
Yeah. But it's a lot. It is, and I think that's sort of where I don't know. I didn't immediately click with The Captain is Dead, because you get through the tutorial, and the tutorial is a bit of a slog, because it goes into it one sort of simultaneously tries to be kind of funny and entertaining, but it also goes into a lot of minutia.
It does walk you through a lot of systems, and there are a lot, just a lot of things to keep track of to begin with.
And then it dumps you into the game, and you feel woefully underprepared, or at least I do. Like, things started going wrong. This room was on fire, this computer system shut down, this person just got shot and has to go to the med bay, and 3 aliens just crawled on your ship. And, like, I got the overall scenario, and I have a general understanding of, like, how to make things go. Mm-hmm. But I think, like you said, I still didn't, like, have a sense of what, like, the chain of events needed to be to, like, achieve these things, despite having watched that tutorial at least twice. Mm-hmm. So it was too much. It didn't ramp up in a way that sort of felt accessible to me. It just felt super dense and kind of hard to wrap my brain around.
Yeah, the first game after completing the tutorial was very difficult. And that's not to say that it became less difficult. I mean, it did slightly as I kind of learned the ropes. But yeah, I think there is much more value in just not jumping into, not just like carrying out actions right away, because you really have to, like, get an understanding of what needs to be addressed on the ship and who can address those things, rather than just saying, like, oh, my chief engineer is up, she should fix something in the engineering bay or wherever it makes the most sense for that character to be. Because what I found is that every time I tried to do something in this game, and this is kind of a point of frustration actually, is it just felt like there was something preventing me from doing whatever I wanted to do. So I would be in that scenario where I was like, oh man, one of the things that happens as you're playing this is every turn you get a new like alert scenario. So a lot of them were just like yellow alerts where like, oh, the shields are going down, or an alien ship has jumped into the system and is invading us or something. So I would kind of look at the alert and be like, oh man, so there are aliens in this room. I should go deal with the aliens. Oh no, but this crew member is injured or something. Or if I send them into this specific room to take care of this one system, they don't have the necessary skills to actually fix that system. And oh no, the teleporter is broken, so I can't teleport them in there anyways. And it just felt like there are so many other things I needed to address before I could actually take care of the task at hand, or what felt like I should be doing. I don't know, it got a little overwhelming. And
quickly. It got overwhelming fast. Yeah.
It does. Well, I mean, because these alerts keep piling up. You run out of action points just dragging your character to the infirmary across the ship every turn because they're just inexplicably getting injured from systems exploding. It just felt just oppressively difficult at certain points.
Yeah.
Which incidentally reminds me of the other game from the FTL guys. What was it called? Into the Breach.
Right.
Which I really love the concept of, but there's like, that game is just an uphill struggle from like the very first turn, because you're just, the cities are on fire, your mechs are taking so much damage, and I just felt like, you know, as good as I get at this game, I feel like I'm just not making progress on it, and I'm just playing it and leading up to my inevitable death 2 or 3 turns or matches in.
Right.
And I got the same feeling with this game, where I just felt like, well, I'm just treading water until that warp core explodes or the shields go down. I don't think I was actually ever able to do a single repair on the warp core, except there was one time where I was just like, okay, this time we're doing it. I'm going to compile, just like take all the engineering repair skills or whatever they were, send them all to this character, and she's going to go fix the warp core. Because I need to do this at least like one time just to see what happens. And I think I got all those repair skills stacked onto the one person, and then she just like got injured and had to go to sick bay. I was just like, oh my god, this is no way.
Yeah, the best the warp core ever got under my leadership was 60%. Never got it above 60%. Yeah. And I get sort of the conceit of a game like this is that you will fail over and over and over and over again until you don't.
Right.
It would not be fun or challenging if on your first playthrough you fixed the warp drive and got the hell out of the solar system.
It would be amazing if that happened, though.
Right. I would be a Sherpa, and this would be a much different review. Yeah. But I get that it is a thing that, much like a roguelike, you sort of whittle down and learn over time. I just felt like, unfortunately, it didn't feel kind of very welcoming in that regard, in that it dumped so much on you so fast that it just feels, like you said, like you're just treading water, like you have no control over anything that's happening on this ship. I don't know. I think developers to a certain degree have an obligation to create sort of small victories in games like this, where you feel like, oh, cool, I can high five over this little thing that I did, even though it's not the main objective.
Right.
And I never felt like I had that moment in The Captain Is Dead. I always felt like, well, shit, one more thing went wrong, despite me working really hard to fix 3 other things.
Pretty much the only thing I could do reliably was just drag one of my characters into the infirmary and get into the little healing tube or whatever, and somehow that was just never satisfying. They're just like, oh, they're not dying anymore. Now you just try and fix the other thing, and then before I knew it, the next alert would be coming in.
Right.
And again, so I'm the same way. I realize that I'm not expecting to finish this game every single time, and I probably only ever finished FTL like a handful of times, like all the way through.
I remember you reviewing FTL on the show and being very excited about actually sort of succeeding at a run after dozens of failed runs.
Yeah, and we're talking about like single digits, like probably just count on one hand the number of times I successfully completed FTL. But it just felt like it was like Into the Breach, where I'm just like, I'm not making any progress. And also, it's just like really demoralizing, just getting more and more problems dumped on me every single turn this game.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think if you're a particular sort of type of masochist, this is the game for you. But yeah, I spent a couple hours with it, and I just unfortunately never really felt like I had sort of my brain wrapped around anything I was doing. And yeah, I never got that moment where I sort of got my head above water long enough to feel like, I might actually pull this off. I might actually do this thing. And yeah, just demoralizing is a good word for it. It just felt, just felt sad every time.
Oh no. So I should mention that I was playing it on normal the entire time. There are several other difficulty settings that are below normal. So there's like an easy mode and an even easier mode.
Maybe that's the way to approach it. I don't think I got there.
I was like, I kind of just wanted to. I mean, I try and give every game a fair shake on like the default difficulty setting. I feel like that's sort of the ideal way to play the game. Probably what the developers were expecting people to experience. Right. So maybe I'll go back and try it on easy just so I can, maybe get a better feel for the rhythm of things. I did really enjoy the fact that the difficulty slider that's like goes like 1, 2, 3, and then 3 is the normal setting, and then it like goes up to like 9 or 10. So you just make it impossible if you're that into it.
Oh man, I don't remember seeing a difficulty adjustment. I remember seeing sort of modes you could pick from.
Oh yeah, well there's the mode select, and then off to the side there's a little kind of like red to yellow meter.
Oh.
Yeah, that was another thing about this game. I was playing it on my phone. A lot of the interfaces are just very kind of cramped.
Yes.
So I don't mean to pile on this game, but fortunately it's not in real time, so you have as much time as you need to kind of like figure out where all the ship systems are. But I recently upgraded to a smaller phone, so I was like, oh man, I wish I had that impractically large phone to play this game on.
Yeah, I thought that a couple times that this would probably be more fun on a tablet or playing it on my PC, because it is. Yeah, I had to sort of like tip my glasses down to the end of my nose and squint really hard to sort of read some of the text and figure out where the button was to check my shield status, and I just felt like like you said, there was a lot of stuff sort of crammed into a very small piece of real estate. Mm-hmm. And again, you would expect sort of managing a starship to be would require a lot of buttons and lights. Yeah, so that seems sort of appropriate, but it is a lot. So yeah. I'll mention that DJ and I did play this on our phone, so it's available from iTunes and from the Google Play. And the cool thing about it is sort of you pay one thing and you get the whole game. There's no advertisements or anything like that. So that's a plus. I'm a fan of that in a video game, particularly in a mobile game. But this is also available on Steam, so you can play it on your PC if you want to give it a whirl.
Yeah, throw it up on your gigantic monitor.
Yeah.
That sounds nice.
It'll feel like you're actually piloting a starship that's about to blow up.
One of the things that I find the most amazing about Star Trek is just how, like, operating a starship is really complicated, but just how much everybody knows about every single aspect of, like, operating the ship. Because they'll, like, be about to beam down to some planet or something, and they'll be like, all right, send the away team down there, and then somebody goes, oh, wait, but the atmosphere is, like, 0.01% whatever super nitrogen or something that'll mess up the transporters. It's like, how did you even know to look for that? I guess that's why you are the Starfleet officer and I am just watching you on TV. You
have to be very well-rounded, yeah. I thought you were going to say when sort of like the captain beams down and they like put somebody else in charge. You have the bridge. I'm like, is that guy qualified for that? I don't know if you can just hand that title over to people. That doesn't seem appropriate.
Yeah, but like at the same time, is like, is the captain the most qualified? Just because he's the captain to go down there, like feels like he should delegate. Maybe, I don't know.
The away team should really just be all red shirts. It shouldn't really be anybody sort of on the top tier. Just like anybody who has their name in the credits doesn't get to go down to the planet. 4
red shirts and like the handler. Just be like, oh, lost another one. Just got them all on leashes or something.
The Wrangler, yeah.
I feel like I'm kind of down on this game. I wasn't an enormous fan. I do really appreciate that the tutorial has you guided by what is clearly just a knockoff of Q from Star Trek The Next Generation.
Yes.
Along with a voice actor who's doing their best. I mean, they're not doing like the full Q, just speaking of impersonations, but it's like making an effort. It's good. I mean, like they could have taken it too far, and I think they stopped at exactly the right point. So that was very good.
What did he describe himself as? An omnipotent space wizard?
I don't know if he would refer to himself as a wizard, but
the character in The Captain is Dead referred to himself as that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
He's
Did you encounter the Whoopi Goldberg bartender
Oh,
character?
yeah, she's good. She's one of the best crew members. When she's not, she doesn't just have like a broken leg randomly.
Yeah, right, exactly. So they call her the counselor in The Captain is Dead, but it is clearly fashioned after Whoopi's outfit.
She's got the
Next
big
Generation.
hat. I really like that, actually. I was just like, why didn't she... Like, I really like that character on The Next Generation. I'm glad she has kind of a featuring role in this.
Yeah, so, I don't know. I conceptually, I think there's some cool stuff here. I just felt real beat up by the experience.
Yeah, which may or may not have been the intent.
Yeah, right. I can see that. So I might be inclined to sort of go back to it and try it on kind of easier levels.
Yeah. The thing I like about FTL, I mean, that's also another Star Trek game, basically, is that, eventually everything is on fire, but a lot of the game, like, especially starting out, you're kind of just, like, commanding the ship in peacetime, and you're just like, well, let's see what's going on in this star system, and maybe go down to that planet and talk to this merchant or whatever. And I find it kind of, like, I don't know, the whole scenario where everything is exploding and people are dying and, aliens are invading is, like I was saying, it's not every episode. That's not necessarily what I expect, or where I expect every Star Trek episode to go. That's kind of where the more recent movies and series go every episode. I don't know why that is, but it's not like, oh, finally they made a Star Trek game where we can play my least favorite part of the show. But I don't know. I guess that's what people are into.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they really, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they've really not sort of made a Star Trek video game or television show or a movie that is the other stuff, is the continuing mission to seek out new life. Like, there really is not anything that sort of focuses on kind of the humdrum, mundane existence on the Enterprise of just trekking across the universe, incident-free.
Well, I don't know how mundane you want to get there, but I think, there have been attempts to, get a little more of the exploration and diplomacy into Star Trek games in the past.
Oh, really? Okay.
Star Trek Online, I think, did a pretty good job. I mean, there's a lot of combat in that as well. But even before that, there were a few entries that were, it was a lot of dialogue screens and exploration. And I realized that this is not the most exciting sounding video game. It's like, let's go conduct interplanetary negotiations. It's like, oh boy. But those are some of the best Star Trek episodes. So I don't know. Cool. I don't know what my point is. Just like, it'd be cool if there were other games that kind of mine the rest of the source material.
Right. Yeah. There's a whole universe of options there for you.
Yeah.
So the other game that we played this week was Embracelet.
Yes. So actually, I was very excited about this. This is an adventure game by the creator of one of my favorite games out of that racial justice bundle, Milkmaid of the Milky Way.
Oh, cool.
Not Mermaid of the Milky Way. That's a different game.
Yep.
But in a similar vein, it is it's kind of a point-and-click adventure game set in Norway, of course. Unlike Milkmaid of the Milky Way, it's not all in rhyme, which I was like, okay, this is see if this is just going to be this guy's shtick for all of his games. But no, it's just like regular dialogue. But you play as this kid, Jesper, who I don't want to give too much away about this game, but you are given a magical bracelet by your grandfather, who used to live up on this little remote island way up in the north of in Norway, and kind of tasked with just tracking down the history of this thing. Is also kind of an excuse for Jesper to go and have this big summer vacation, because he's just about ready to graduate high school and go off on his own.
Yeah.
Um,
I think, yeah, I'm also sort of turning this over in my brain, trying to sort of figure out how to talk more about it without sort of giving all of this fun stuff away. But it's yeah, I get the sort of impression that it's a bit sort of autobiographical. It does have a bit of a sci-fi spin to it, so it does have some sort of gamey elements that are kind of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, the bracelet does have a power kind of attached to it, and you are looking for opportunities to use that power throughout the course of Jesper's adventure.
Yeah, it's pretty
but it really
whimsical throughout. Like,
yes,
Milkmaid of the Milky Way, as you would expect, is a little silly. And I thought, well, okay, this one's not. It's like nobody's rhyming in this one anymore. I wonder if it's going to be a little more grounded. But it's like, no, it gets a little silly and a little otherworldly, which I think is fun.
But it deals with, I think, some kind of real stuff. Like, there's very much it's a bit of, your character Jesper's a bit of a loner, doesn't make friends easily. Mom works 2 jobs and leaves him home alone frequently, and on and on and on. So there's a number of sort of complications in Jesper's life that make the fact that he is now sort of embroiled in a bit of a mystery and conspiracy with this bracelet, and is on a big journey to figure out kind of where the heck did this mysterious thing come from and how did it overlap with my grandfather's life, kind of all the more remarkable. So it's, yeah, I mean, it's a capital A sort of adventure game, in the sense that he's, getting out of the house and exploring strange new worlds. But I think it is sort of approachable and groundable because the characters are all kind of interesting and eccentric. You want sort of what's best for this kid. So any opportunity to sort of interact with other teenagers, I always sort of took the path of trying to make friends and be approachable.
Yeah.
So you get to sort of role play some of those elements a little bit, but it's I don't know. I found the whole thing very endearing. I found the characters sort of kind of fun and interesting. I found the central mystery very intriguing, and it does sort of go down some very kind of unexpected routes with this adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whimsical is a good way to approach it. I think that's a good word. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a very Jesper was a very surprising protagonist throughout. He's not just kind of like a blank slate guy. So that was good.
Yeah, I know he's very much I think a fully formed character.
Yeah. I was super into just the idea of the game taking place in this very remote island where there's like not a lot of people living there. I don't think it's a real island. I was trying to find it on a map.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe it's just like too small to be on a map, but I think it's fictional. It's probably like based on actual islands in Norway.
Sure.
And apologies if it is a real island and the people listening to this there are just like, how dare they? But you get there and it's just it's such a tiny town on this island. And I like the idea of him just being on vacation there and kind of, I was doing a little bit of the video game tourism thing, just trying to imagine like, how would it be like to, take a little boat all the way up north and hang out on this island where it seems like there is like just nothing there. I feel like they maybe scaled it down a little bit in the game because at some point you are looking out over the town and you realize like, oh man, it's like 4 houses. How can this actually function as just a town where people live?
Yeah. And they talk a bit about that too. They talk about, and you get some of the context from the residents of this island about, sort of what the island was like in its heyday, and that there used to be more people here before the fishery shut down and before the cannery shut down. And now they're talking about doing sonic mining off the coast, and whether or not that's good or bad or will bring people to the island. And you do encounter a couple of teenagers, and they are the only kids on the entire island. And I just can't imagine being 17 and being the only person in my age group on this entire island where I've spent my entire life. You just feel so isolated and so disconnected. And they do talk about how, electricity can be erratic and internet access is just forget about it. So they never play video games online and stuff like that. And so like all the things that I think maybe some of us in America kind of take for granted as being kind of tools for connecting, just don't exist if you're this isolated. And it's, I don't know, it's just hard to wrap my brain around that as a reality.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was a really fascinating just backdrop for everything is already going on, because you've got this island or this like town basically that's kind of on the brink of just ceasing to exist, maybe because all the commerce and the like sustainability dries up. But it was so unusual to have a game set somewhere like this. So I thought that was very memorable.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, as I sort of describe those things, it maybe sound a little dry to your average gamer. It is really just sort of the backdrop, and it's really, you get those details, through the course of your exploration and interacting with other characters and stuff like that. It's never really about that. It is more about sort of the central mystery around the bracelet.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I enjoyed it. It's one of those fun games where I think you can kind of play in a sitting. It's I don't know, a couple hours long. It took me, I think, 2 sessions to get through the whole thing, but it's a whole story. You get a whole character arc. You get it has a couple of different endings I read on the internet. So you get a couple of different sort of degrees of satisfying kind of ending. But I had a lot of fun with it. I really sort of felt like a peek into a life. Into a culture that I don't ever see represented in video games or pop culture. So it was very entertaining.
Yeah, I thought it was nice. It was not like, they could have gone pretty heavy-handed with this type of sort of like coming of age sort of story, but no, they did had a very light touch throughout. That was very good. Yeah. Didn't get super sappy or anything. Just felt very realistic.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Cool. No, it was good. Good recommendation. I feel compelled to check out Milkmaid of the Galaxy now.
Yeah, no, I like that one a lot too. It's very different from this, but also worth your time.
Excellent.
I hope somebody would make, like, I've just been trying to compile a list of games where you can go and visit actual real world places, and this is like, I don't know if it's exactly that, because of the way like the island or just the visuals in this game are so stylized. It's pretty abstract. If you like, you can't actually go there and imagine you're on vacation there, but you do get some sense of what it might be like to be on an island like this. So I'm just hoping, like, oh man, maybe the next Assassin's Creed, just set it up there on some island in Norway and just go hang out. I don't know. Maybe that's cool. How Valhalla ended up. I haven't played that one. Something, yes. So I'm waiting for the Embracelet HD remaster. Just incredibly gross 4K textures on every surface on this island. Everybody's like, I don't know, these realistic physics skeletons of all the characters in the game could be ridiculous.
Yeah. I like the art style of Embracelet. I thought it had a good look to it, and I thought when it there were elements of the game where it really sort of needed to shine, where it needed to be kind of mystical or needed to be sort of really kind of crank up the fun sci-fi stuff. I really thought it kind of delivered on those. There were elements of it I thought that were quite beautiful, when the rest of the game is done in a pretty stark, pretty kind of one-to-one representative kind of way. But when it needs to be, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Mystical. I keep coming back to that, where it really needs to kind of show some shimmer. It does. Yeah.
It's got kind of like a very simple low poly look that you see in a lot of indie games these days. Felt like parts of the mountain could have been from that what's that mountain biking game, the Lonely Mountain Downhill. It's like this is the same mountain. It was the same triangles that I was biking over last year.
Much less blood than that biking game, though. It's just blood all over that mountain. Yeah.
But I did really like the way that the characters were animated. They had a lot of personality. So even though it looks very lo-fi, it did a really terrific job.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I would recommend very, very, very strongly.
Yeah. So this is out on the Switch, and I believe it's on Steam as well.
Mm-hmm. That sounds right.
Pretty good. The Switch was a little
weird. It's not a very expensive game. Yeah.
Just a few dollars. I was going to say, it's clearly, it's like, point and click adventure game designed to be played with a mouse, it seems like, because the Switch version just uses this on-screen cursor, which is kind of awkward at times, but it's not like a deal breaker or anything. They're not any like high stakes action sequences or anything. You just have to occasionally drag this cursor around to whatever you want to interact with on the screen.
I played it solely undocked. I played it in handheld mode throughout and just used the touchscreen. It never occurred to me.
Oh, I didn't try the touchscreen with it. I was kind of wondering, like, yeah, actually, that would be pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, you showed me.
I guess I'm just a better gamer than you.
I guess so. I guess that settles it.
Yep. Took 480 episodes to get there, but I finally got that validation I've been looking for.
Oh man, I was wondering actually. So I played a lot of it in docked mode. If it would work with, some games will use the Joy-Con as a pointer, like the Wiimote.
Oh yeah.
Except I just didn't make the effort to find out if it actually did that. I couldn't imagine that. I don't know. That seems like a lot of development effort. I have no idea if it actually is or not. I was just content to play it using the analog stick, so it was fine.
Yep. Totally playable every way you sort of approach it, so yeah. Cool. All right. Well, that was a good recommendation, DJ. Thanks for pointing me in the direction of that one.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what this guy comes up with next.
Yeah. I want to compare endings with you after we wrap up.
Oh.
Cool. All right. Well, we should wrap this show up, I think. If you need any more video game hangover in your... Wait.
Oh,
I want to do this
happening?
first. Let's do this first. Go to youtube.com/VGHangover.
Oh.
Yeah, and check out some of our uploads there. We've put up the entire last season of Video Game Hangover, and DJ is quite diligent about making sure our new episodes end up there every single Friday. So it would help us immensely if you could follow us on YouTube. It would help us even more if you could upvote, thumbs up. Is that what they call it on YouTube?
I believe it's an updog.
An updog. Give us an updog on some of our videos. All of those things help us in some way that I don't comprehend. But yeah, we would love your support on the YouTube. So please go over there and give us a little internet love.
Yeah, that'd be really
good.
Well, I mean, if that's what you're into, it's not that type of YouTube channel.
Anyone's lifestyle at all, but yes, please. So yeah, we were talking about how sort of we bury this YouTube suggestion in the end notes all the time, and I don't know how many of our listeners ever get there. So if you're still listening, go to youtube.com/VGHangover, or just search for VG Hangover on there, and you can consume some classic Video Game Hangover episodes.
Yeah,
and more to come.
More to come. Oh, we're doing this again?
Maybe. Probably.
Okay. Well, got nothing else going on.
Exactly. What do you do all day?
I just hang out on at the beach with large groups of people.
Oh, you're that kind of person.
Well, sorry to surprise you.
I know. I thought I knew you. Now we can do the thing. If you need any more Video Game Hangover in your brain, you should follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/VGHangover. And don't forget, you can always get show notes and links and tell us what you thought about this episode at VGHangover.com. We would love to have you join our Discord as well. If you, ever wanted to hang out in our little virtual clubhouse and talk about video games and other fun pop culture things, go to VGHangover.com for a link to our Discord as well.
Yeah, send us pictures of your modded Dreamcast or whatever was going on.
Yeah, we had some of that going on. I was way out of an uncharted territory on that this weekend. But,
give shout outs to your favorite sketchy back alley Dreamcast modder. There's a market still.
Totally, yep. And we would recommend that you subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and anywhere else you can get a podcast. And don't be afraid to tell your friends about the show as well.
Yeah. Tell them we love Star Trek and Star Wars or whatever space stuff. This is the podcast for them.
All space stuff all the time.
Oh, yeah. No, that's I think that really sums up the show better than anything else. We want to give thanks again to Felly Kitty for our intro and outro music this week. Please head on over to fellykitty.bandcamp.com. Check out some of our other stuff. It's pretty good.
It is good. All right, we'll be back next week. Until then, this is Randy Dickinson.
This is DJ Ross.
Thanks for...
What is happening?
Where that was going. Supporting? I think I was going to say thanks for supporting. But yeah, thanks for supporting Video Game Hangover, and thanks for listening to Video Game Hangover. Goodbye.
Thanks for donating to our Patreon. Oh, good night.
Oh no, everything is on fire.